Anyone who has read anything by George Orwell, or has just heard of George Orwell, and is somewhat aware of his, shall I say, mojo, is most likely in a completely defensive position, a mental bunker, when it comes to government in general, and politicians in particular. Animal Farm, I know a lot of people think it's wonderful, but it went on a little too long for me. I had the point, I felt, rather quickly, and resented the time I had to spend in the barnyard to get to the very bitter end. 1984 was another bitter pill. I read it too, and though I'm certain I was horrified, I don't remember it that well. I do recall the essays, which I've read many times, Shooting an Elephant and A Hanging. Powerful stuff, in my opinion. And the real takeaway, as people like to say now, from George Orwell, is an appreciation of how governments and politicians mangle and manipulate language, twisting it into duplicitous shapes that favor their ends, purposes, and meanings. It's safe to say that I have no respect for politicians. They show up when they need money or a vote. The rest of the time they ride a magic carpet, living wonderfully on the public dole and boasting of their all-important service to the people. Though the hypocrisy is so blatant as to be nearly vicious, people will show up and cheer for them in the hopes, I guess, that some crumb will come their way as a result of that boisterous show of support. A while back there was a vote in this state, Ohio, for the legalization of marijuana. Of course, it was more complicated than that. There was no simple vote, yes or no, for the legalization of marijuana. A favorable vote would have established a system for the growth and sale of marijuana by about 20 people, the only ones duly authorized to do this. Naturally, they would become rich in the process. How they were selected, we were not told. One of them, I recall, was Oscar Robertson, the former basketball great, put in there, I suspect, to make this very rigged system more agreeable, and Robertson, no fool, was a more than willing stooge, since he would realize a considerable and continuing windfall as a result of his participation. The group behind this chicanery called themselves Responsible Ohio. Not Ohioans for decriminalizing marijuana, or pro-pot, or legal weed, or anything that would make a grain of sense, but Responsible Ohio. Meaning that if you were opposed to this measure and you lived in Ohio, you were irresponsible. Not wanting my pitiful vote to contribute to their opportunity to plunder, and despite harboring several strong reasons for favoring the legalization of the drug, along with several strong objections, I proudly voted in a completely irresponsible way. I was offended, incensed, I might say, by these people calling themselves Responsible Ohio. For once, or rarely, I was on the winning side. People chose to be irresponsible, or a majority did so, and the Responsible Ohio folks folded their tents and looked for other ways to make their easy bucks. If nothing else, they can always fall back on the state lottery and all the taxes and fees levied legally by the state. Someone must have liked that campaign, though, even though it lost, because lately I've been hearing a barrage of commercials on the radio urging me to gamble responsibly. Why they chose to pick on this word responsible, I'm not sure, but boy, they are just about beating it to death. They make it sound like it's practically my civic duty to get out there and gamble responsibly. By the way, I'm surprised they use the word gambling. They usually avoid that and use gaming, as in, I am a member of the Gaming Commission. Now, of course, it would be wrong if I crossed the line and began to gamble irresponsibly. If I bet the rent or the money I've got coming back from the IRS, if I bet that, before it actually came into my possession, or if I went into debt with my gambling and in trying to get well only dug a deeper hole, That would be irresponsible gambling, and that's bad. They have a hotline you can call if you do something crazy, like irresponsible gambling. But responsible gambling, going out for fun with your friends and neighbors, winning some, losing some, having a great time, not only is there nothing wrong with that, it's a good thing, a very responsible thing to do. So go ahead and be responsible. And when you come home from the casino, I urge you to read a little George Orwell.